Welcome to the Brave Healing Podcast. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to change the world one brave word at a time. And here to help me with that today are four of the author experts of one of our upcoming books, Wholehearted Wonder Women 50 Plus, Courage, Confidence, and Creativity at Any Age. Please help me welcome Liz Hanzi, Bridget Graham Barlow, Corrine Coppola, and Joy Reeser to the show. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you guys here. Okay, you guys, so just so you have an idea, Liz is the owner of Living Life Complete Professional Coaching, and she provides guidance to women navigating midlife transitions. Bridget Graham Barlow is the CEO of Healing Concepts Now, where they heal your body, mind, and spirit. Corrine Coppola is an author, speaker, and IFS coach, and her signature program, Conquer the Invisible, has helped her clients take back control in their lives. Joy Reeser widely inspires through her being and offerings through Joy on Your Shoulders. And of course, after you guys listen in and you are dying to learn more, all you got to do is go down into those show notes because I have all of their websites hooked up there for you. And so first things first, thank you to Lulu Trevina for being the lead author of this incredible project. She really had an amazing vision to bring 50 plus women together and share the wisdom and the tools. So Lulu, thank you so much for that vision for this book and for trusting me to guide the project. I am incredibly honored to be here doing this. And to you, badass authors, thank you for saying yes. Thanks for being willing to step up and share the authentic, vulnerable stories and the master tools. You guys are amazing. And the power in this group of people is palpable. I know that you all feel it too. And these interviews where we're getting to hear your voice and hear your wisdom, notch it up a notch for me. So here we go. Liz, talk to me a little bit about your story, about this beautiful chapter that you wrote.
Well, my goodness. So I am the author of chapter 15, Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Reflections After 50, How to See Beauty Beyond Limitations. So this was all generated by my own sense of having so many limitations, seemingly limitations in my life. I have chronic pain, and there's just been many things that have happened or been presented to me, so to speak, after the age of 50. And so this chapter is about really looking at that whole picture, waking up to all parts of ourselves and having a sense of radical acceptance around it. So if I have chronic pain, it doesn't mean I have to suffer, so there's this sense of acceptance and letting that, I don't know, all kind of be okay and actually celebrate it actually. And in that there's such freedom. So it's my story about my limitations and inviting everyone to just look full on the whole picture, have every single reflection, every mirror going off in our life, and look at all of it and just, no matter what it is, take it in, embrace it, actually celebrate it, and just create from there. Yeah.
So talk to me about radical acceptance for a minute. You just said those two words and I was like, yes, and in my head. And that means everything, right?
It really does. I don't know why it's been so profound to me, because in acceptance, to me, it's not a passive thing. It's not, sometimes it can be a gentle surrendering, but for me, there's also that sense of celeb- celebrating it. Like, yeah, so I failed. Yes, so I have this limitation. Yes, so this is happening in my life, and it's still a massively beautiful, like, creative force that I can tap into the life force itself behind it and create from there. I don't know, there's something about pushing away, what we resist persists. So there's that sense of, if there's anything that I'm pushing up against or I don't want, that just generates more of that. So this is about, yeah, like just embracing it and say, this is it, and going forward from there. So it's radical. It's radical.
Give us a little tease about the tool you're offering in the chapter.
Well, it's in two parts. The first part is really inviting people to actually look in a mirror. If you've never done that, it's really powerful. But look in your eyes, and if possible, if you even have a full length mirror, actually even to be naked, but just look at all of it. And if you look long enough, like, the physical features kind of melt away, and it's this tapestry of all sorts of everything that makes us who we are, all the imperfections and the beauty. So I do invite people to do that exercise, to actually look in the mirror and sit with it for a minute, and then journal about what what it's like to, like, accept all of it, to really be okay with those imperfections, or where we've messed up, or my life is messy. So that's the one part. And then the second tool is, if you've heard of Tonglen meditation, it is just a way of tapping into the pain that I might be feeling, just tapping into, there might be somebody else on this planet experiencing something very similar. And I don't know, something about bringing those other people into that meditation, and, like, breathing in that pain, and then, you know, letting that exhalation go with a serenity, a peace and freedom in that. So it's kind of two parts: the kind of reflective writing part, and then the active meditation part of just letting it all be present as it is. Yeah.
Thank you, Liz.
Mhm.
It's profound work. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Bridget, I'm going to move on to you. Tell me about this amazing chapter that you wrote.
Um, Thank you. I wrote chapter 16. And Liz, by the way, I read your chapter and I did your exercise. And it is profound. So thank you. Um, my chapter is called Dare to Embark on the Journey You Fear Most. And this story comes from a time in my life where I was working in the corporate world, and I had a trip to Russia, and I was very excited about it. And Russia was still communist at that time, so it was USSR. And the trip was, in the book, chapter, I said it's a trip of a lifetime, but it also was a trip that changed my life. And a lot of us have those trips, right? We have those, or those events in our life that are huge benchmarks. And we can choose to let them shake us up, or we can choose to take them on and find purpose in it. And in my case, the trip was, I was raped and by a high profile person in the government. And I knew, I was smart enough to know, thank goodness, that it wasn't my fault. And that's one of the biggest hurdles a lot of people have to overcome. But what I did not know was that we store trauma in our body, not just in our mind, but in our body, right? And so I went through a series of seeing different practitioners, different therapists. The journey got to the point where I became chronically depressed. And I went through court battle with the company, and it's an amazing story. The trip itself, I'm glad that I recovered from it because it was an amazing, beautiful trip also. There were so many things I was so excited to experience at such a young age. And, in those days, I was kind of that, one of the theme songs, if a lot of you remember, was Helen Reddy's I Am Woman, Hear Me Roar, right? And I took that very much to heart. And so that was something that I thought about throughout the beginning of planning of the trip and then in my recovery of the trip. And so where this took me was going into healing work because I could not get the healing I needed from enough healing. My mind knew that this was fine. I got this. I know it's not my fault. Like I said before, what I didn't realize is how much you can store in your tissue. So, for example, if I didn't even realize this, but a big movie back then was Hunt for Red October. Do you remember that one? And I didn't know what it was about. I went to the movie and I heard the Russian accent and my body started trembling. And I had never experienced anything like that. And I felt ill and I just had a lot of side effects. So I ended up going into an alternative field in search of really healing myself. And that's when I uncovered how much we store at a physical level in the cells. The cells all have memory. And there's many ways that you can go about healing. So it can be massage, it can be craniosacral therapy, it could be Reiki, it could be, that's one of them. I actually used all of those, but because I found that this particular journey I was supposed to take and that I needed to heal anyway. I wasn't a healthy person in a lot of ways. There was a lot of trauma in there beforehand. This was just that one thing that made me go get the help I really needed. So that's the chapter. And I talk about the recovery, some of the recovery process. And that took me into, frankly, working with a lot of people that went through a lot of sexual abuse. It wasn't the intention, but our higher power I always say, is the ultimate economist. And doesn't waste a moment to teach and help us all learn. So about 70% of my practice became people who went through molestation of some kind. And so I decided to, at that time, I would tell my story if it was appropriate. But I was healed, I was happy, I was healthy, I liked men still, I liked sex still. So I was able to share that journey. And I think a lot of people needed to see that came to see me. So that's what my chapter is about.
Thank you so much for being brave and writing about that topic.
Yeah.
That's what I will say to you. And thank you for being here to share a little bit of that story. This can be such an intense topic, and the book, you guys, I have to say, just, thank you all for not only being brave to write these kinds of stories, but it's one thing to be able to do that and then move on to teaching. You all are master teachers, and to take the challenge of actually putting that into little black and white, little black symbols on a page is challenging because we're used to sitting across from someone and working with them and verbalizing the teaching. And you all did this so brilliantly in your ability to teach that tool. So I thank all of you for that as well. Corinne, talk to me about your beautiful chapter.
Thank you, Laura. It's such an honor to be here along with you ladies and the stories that you all are sharing so bravely, as Laura said. So my chapter is chapter 17, and it's called Tame the Flame, transforming, resentment and anger to love and connection. So often what I say is that I have a PhD in rage. So And I really believe strongly that a lot of women in our 50s can relate to that, can relate to this intense anger and, being raised in a home that wasn't safe and that the outsides didn't match the insides, right? So what it looked like on the outside was like happy family, and on the inside was not, that was not going on. So what I wrote about was really some just similar to Bridget in terms of some sexual trauma in my life. When I was turned 40, I had memories of being sexually abused by my father, and they came flooding back, and it wasn't something that I knew, what was going on. It was the Me Too movement hadn't happened. The crisis, the sex scandal in the Catholic Church hadn't happened. So there wasn't a lot of resources. This was about 15 years ago, because I'm about to be 55. And at the time, my whole world was shattered. I was close to my family. I had extended family that I was close to, made me question my relationship with my husband, just everything at the time. And I talk about the experience in my chapter and what I went through. And then on top of it, so get through that. And I say, get through that, get the resources that I needed, just as Bridget talked about, that trauma really lives in our body. So it really helped me shift my focus to helping women who have had trauma of some type, and maybe they don't realize it, right? Maybe it's the little t trauma and not a big T trauma. And then I go on to describe the dissolution of my marriage, or the breakup of my marriage, then happened a few years later. There aren't a lot of men that I think would be able to have navigated that alongside of me. He had his own history of things that in his life and his childhood. So, I come from a house of addiction, abuse, and again, things not on the outside, not matching the inside. And I had to come to ownership, right? Like I say, like in the chapter, I talk about I'm not responsible for what happened to me. Like adults happen, things happened in my life that had me feel unsafe. And from that, it is my responsibility to heal. So do I continue to hold on to the anger, which continues to keep me powerless because that person, that situation, that thing takes over? Or do I try to have the intention to forgive? Okay, so, what happened in my marriage was that there was betrayal, there was lies, all this stuff, that it was no surprise, because from my childhood, I subconsciously had brought these wounds, if you will, and wanted to heal them with someone else. And we operate out of an unconscious decision 95% of the time. So because we have 1.2 million frames per second in the unconscious brain, and it's 40 frames per second in the conscious brain. So we're always acting from the history, the unconscious. So what can I do to bring awareness to myself in this moment so I can stop the legacy, of abuse and addiction? And what can I do to create positivity and love and kindness for the legacy and the family to come? So.
Yes, with an exclamation point. And I'm going to talk to all of you about awareness and ask you all about awareness in a minute, because it's all about awareness. But really quickly, since Bridget and Corrine both spoke of the trauma held in the tissue, as an expert myofascial release practitioner myself, I know what they're talking about. And I love to just encourage people that if they've tried everything and they're not getting to where they want to be and feel with their healing, that sometimes this is the missing component. It's that nobody went to the actual physical tissue, the fascial tissue, where that energy can be held in and stuck and create all kinds of mind, body, soul problems. And I love to talk about integration, but if I start down that road, I'll be here all day because there's a lot, right? There's a lot, but I wanted to just add that to both of you, what you said about the body memory and it being, of course, a mind body situation when it comes to authentic healing. So I love giving people some hope about that, if they haven't tried it. Joy, tell me about your amazing chapter.
Thank you, Laura. And thank you, ladies, for sharing about your wonderful chapters today. Mine is chapter 8. I love that infinity symbol, 8. Mind the lessons of your life, uncover hidden joy. It was an amazing chapter to pull together in a very short time. We had kind of a tight deadline, but I had a busy life. So I found myself really tightening that deadline that I wanted to write the best chapter I could. And I believe I did. I mined lessons of my life. And instead of writing, the secretary told me I was a perfectionist, and I went home to write an essay. I remembered I have the essay. I have reams of writing I have done on my journey. I have been a journal writer, which I highly recommend. So I could pull out that essay and put a piece of it into this chapter. And I have goosebumps because I realized that anyone with perfectionism will benefit by reading about my perfection. So my hope is that there are just touchstones in my chapter that will be relatable to you who's reading it, that you will find, oh my gosh, I married that guy too. I talk about marrying my opposite. I talk about this long-standing belief that was in me because my father was a physician, chiropractic. Oh my gosh, we were brainwashed, never go to chiropractic. So what happens, I get my car, I'm in a car accident where my car is rear-ended and totaled. I have neck and back injuries that I hold in my body. And we've all talked about the in the body. I didn't go to chiropractic until 9 years later because of my upbringing with this father. So I talk about getting past beliefs. And then I was in a journaling class and it was on wild. And I thought, I am living with white gloves on. I can open the, what did I call them? Something like the locked something of my childhood. We are in charge of living in expansion or living a contracted, scared life. And I was raised in fear. And I have done so much body work, all the body work everyone talked about. I have an open heart. And I recommend, I recommend healing so much. I have healed on every which way. Thank you.
I recommend healing quite a bit too. I think it's pretty awesome. And it's interesting because once on the path, you can't really go back, but it's totally worth it. People are afraid of opening up Pandora's box when someone says we should talk about healing. And a lot of people don't want to go there because they're afraid of never coming back from that. But we are all here to tell you it's worth it, right? All of us. So Joy, I'm sticking with you for this next question. I'm going to get around to all of you four, but what's the best thing about being 50 plus?
Oh, wow. The best. No periods.
Hey, I'm 53 and I still have them coming. So don't talk to me about that. I keep wondering. I'm talking to the universe every morning. Like, what's up with this? Can we just be done? And it's not happening.
I know. Besides, that will happen. I'm 60, going on 64. But I would say it is this being comfortable in my own skin. And that came when it came for me. So for me, that was like around age 53, that I finally wasn't so worried about what everyone thought about me. I was just living from here. Yeah.
I love it. That is also one of my favorite things about being not concerned with really. I mean, what came with age, I wished it would have come earlier. But that sense of play now, because I just don't give a crap what other people think unless I want to pay attention to what they think, right? I love that, Joy. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Corrine, how about you? What's the best thing about being 50 plus?
The best thing about being 50 plus is self-knowledge. And I was going to say freedom, right? But giving myself permission to really put myself first, to really understand that, I am the thermostat in the home is what I call it. Do I want to be the thermostat or the thermometer? That I'm the thermostat of my life, that I am in charge of how I show up. And I think just really owning that and not pushing it off on other people or excusing my behavior, but like owning and being able to be humble and make amends when I'm wrong. So
Yes,
I would say
that.
insight, self-knowledge. Yeah.
When you own it, then there's a freedom and empowerment in that, and it is very palpable. That's awesome. Bridget, how about you? What's the best thing about being 50 plus?
Well, I'm going to say it, Corinne, freedom. Mine was freedom and wisdom. The years of knowledge and then the wisdom helps you move into a space of freedom and awareness that I wish I had when I was younger, but we had to go through what we had to go through. And for me, that would be the most important.
I love
Experiencing life, and it allows you to have more joy. You're really able to experience more joy. There's not the restraints that you put on yourself. So taking responsibility.
That jail that we locked ourselves up in, huh? Love having the awareness that I had the key all along. Like,
Right.
Okay, let's get out.
Right.
Liz, what would you say about this? What's your favorite thing?
Well, right there with Corinne, self-knowledge is knowing ourselves. I talk about we get to wake up and grow up and speak up, and that's really kind of embodies it all. But I wanted to add, since you guys had touched on all of that, here's the other thing is spaciousness. Because there's something about getting rid of all that clutter and all the shoulds and all of that stuff that everybody has talked about, that there's just more space after 50. There's just a spaciousness. So I'll throw that in there.
Yes, I hadn't thought about that word to describe that feeling. And I love that. Of course, I'm a word gal, so I like that description. And I can breathe deeper in that spaciousness. I've used palpable like 3 times so far in this interview, because it is like it's got a feel to it, which I love. Thank you for that. So Bridget, I'm coming to you for this next question first. And y'all have talked about this already in a few different ways, but for the women listening to this interview, and they may be in their 50s and beyond, and they have big dreams and big goals, and some people are stuck in not knowing how to go after that, or being still blocked up in the different ways that we've talked about already today. What advice are you giving women about going after their dreams?
It would depend on the person typically, but I try to access or help them access that childlike wonder they once had. That time in their life where they didn't know they couldn't. And helping them access that, suddenly when they have the support of someone saying, what do you mean you can't? Why not? Why not? Why not you? And that's been a mantra that I've used a lot, like, why not? Why not me? Why can't I be the miracle? Why can't I be this? Why can't I have that? So that would be the number one thing, is helping them find that wonder again, that time in their life where they didn't have the restraints, and tapping into that.
I
And then
love it.
supporting that.
You can expect a meme on that one shortly. Go back to the time in your life when you didn't know you couldn't.
Yeah.
I love the energy of that. Thank you. Liz, how about you? What's some advice you give to women who are wanting to go after their dreams at this stage of their life?
So, I'm all about that whole picture, right? The waking up to all parts of ourselves. So I think just challenging them on their clarity of what they're really following and what they're really listening um, to make sure that whatever dream it is, whatever they aspire to, really is not some cultural thing, or not some you know I don't know, some energy coming from outside of them, right? So just to encourage that it can look like anything. I've had more and more people um, really really coming down to what is a dream is simplifying their life. Like, it doesn't have to be this big flashy thing either. So it's you know to me, it's just look at that whole picture and then jump, you know so that's pretty much, I challenge them basically.
I love the
Yeah.
challenges like that. And I think when I learned to question everything, question everything, question everything you think, and see what comes up with those questions. I love that, Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Joy, how
Yeah.
about you? What's the advice?
Thank you. The advice I would give is to honor your dreams, because when you get that first hit of a dream, well, what I did was I kind of ignored it, and I kind of let it knock on my gut and knock and knock and knock. And when I finally leaned into that, then it led to this and to this and to this. And I think that sometimes a dream is a seed for so much that we will never know. I still don't know where I'm going exactly, but the expansion of me, and from the hiding and the scared person I was to this shiny person who's, I feel like I'm everywhere, guest posts and interviews and books. I'm going to be as everywhere as I can.
I love it. I'm with you there. I'll be as everywhere as I can be. Why not, right? And have fun with it, especially. I love, honor the dream. I wonder how many women second guess it, or doubt it, or even afraid of it, or look around them and think all the self-sabotaging bullshit that they think, right? Like, how can we break people out, wake them up to the possibility that they could honor that because it came up in them, because they were inspired, that would be the reason to honor it. This is something I always say, you know, you were born, so you're worthy. So every single dream should be honored. I love that. Corinne, how about you? What's the advice you'd give to a woman wanting to go after their dreams?
2 words: get real. So, you know, well, maybe 4: get real and go inside. Meaning, you know, is there, asking yourself the question, is there a disconnect between my external world and my internal world? Like, does it match? Do my insides match the outsides, right? And if they don't, noticing what do the insides need and doing the next best thing. Like, what I'm about to live out a dream. I'm about to leave my, you know, my home here in Northern Virginia and start a year journey in Chincoteague, Virginia, which is about 3.5 hours away. And if you had asked me last year at this time, what would I be doing? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a plan, right? And I was feeling really like, oh, my kids are leaving in a year and a half. Like, I need to have a plan. I need to have a plan. And the plan just surfaced. And because I just followed the next best thing, like, one of my friends had a home, a cottage in Chincoteague, and she said, why don't you go there? It's open for 2 weeks. 2 weeks? What? I've never taken that kind of time for myself. What? And so I took 10 days and I did virtual work from there, and I just integrated myself. And then I came home and I like, how can I bring more of that vacation into my life here? And then it slowly evolved. It wasn't like I just woke up one day and was like, hey, I'm going to move to Chincoteague. And, you know, I did have the seeds, as you all have spoken of, like when the children were younger, I knew the year after that, when I was married, that we had intended on going traveling. So that seed had been planted, right? A long time ago, 7, 8 years ago, and 10 years ago, probably, to be honest. And then it's come to fruition in a way that I never would have imagined. Right. And sitting in the middle of the pandemic last year at this time, I would have never thought. So that's my experience, and words of wisdom is the next best, like, get real, and then the next best thing. That's all.
I love it. I can't wait to hear more about the adventure as it unfolds. Okay, ladies, we got to do the speed dating version of this last question. Corinne is up first. What is something that you do really your favorite way to take care of yourself? Because we all know if we aren't serving from an overflow, then we're going to go to burnout. Right. And I want all of the listeners to know that the author, expert, master teachers who are in this book and here today to talk to you have a self-care practice. They have to be able to take care of themselves to help you and their families and everybody around them. So, Corinne, what's your favorite way to take care of yourself?
My favorite way to take care of myself is walking barefoot in the woods. Like, the overarching is just anytime in nature. I'm blessed to have a nature trail behind me. And this morning went for my daily walk and I saw 3 deer quietly eating breakfast. It was such a gift, but definitely anytime I can get outside in nature.
I'm with you on that one, except for if it was barefoot right now, I'd be stepping on cicadas. So
yeah, that doesn't happen. That's yes.
I'm going to step on, I'm going to wear my tennis shoes for these walks this week.
Yes, I'm with you, girlfriend.
Joy, how about you? What's your favorite way to take care of yourself?
My favorite way is I call it a spiritual practice, and it's in the morning. It's after I've made my hot lemon water, or my partner, Michael, has made my hot lemon water. And he goes into a different space and I go into the sacred chair in our bedroom. And that is where I sink into that moment. I have stillness. I write in journals. I write gratitudes. I read in 5 devotionals. So it's 1 page at a time in these 5 books that I've kind of collected over from different parts of my life.
Beautiful. I love it. I'm a fellow journaler as well, so I hear you. I do it. I write every day, and I love that one. Liz, what you got for us?
Well, so a little combination therein. So nature is hands down, my go-to, because it it encompasses everything. It's a walking meditation to me. It's a heightening of all the senses. It's being able to move my body, which sometimes works better for me than sitting. And sometimes I take my journal. So it's like, and I love to take pictures. I love to like hone in on the, finding the extraordinary in the ordinary, or I don't know, there's just something about like everything looks like a picture, or everything looks like it should just be, framed. But so it's a combination, but definitely, I mean, right here, I like look outside at the leaves like half the time that I'm, you know, on a call. So it's nature first.
Yes, special energy. And Bridget, last but not least, what's your favorite way?
My favorite way is a combination of everything we've spoken about. But I'd say the main part of it is meditation. And each morning I spend right away a moment of meditation. And a lot of times it'll start with a cup of something. Um, it'll go with journaling. I do love gardening. So a lot of times I'll go outside in my garden and walk around and, pick little plants or pick my herbs or whatever else I have. And I love spending time with my animals. So that to me is all meditative. It's some form of meditation. And that heals me.
Yes, my doggy pets. That's in my list for sure. I love that. Thank you, Bridget. Ladies, thank all of you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everybody. Thank you.
And thank you,
Thank
Laura.
you.
Thank you, Laura.
And
Thank you.
Lulu.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yes, and Lulu. Okay, so listeners, please remember that all you have to do is drop down into those show notes to find everybody's websites. Take it a next step. Go explore. They have so much to offer beyond what they could talk about in this one little interview today. So I hope that you guys will do that. And of course, you're going to want to join us on June 8th. On the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page at 9:30 a.m. Eastern for our live stream book launch party. We're going to have all of the authors there to share their wisdom with you. And we're going to have some pretty cool giveaways for our book purchasers that day. So please join us for that. If you happen to be listening to this after June 8th, well, that means you need to get your butt to Amazon and grab the book, right? So also one more thing I don't want to forget to share with you guys for a little after hours connection with our authors. One of the amazing benefits of this project is that you can join into the Wholehearted Wonder Women 50 plus global community group on Facebook. Rub elbows with the authors, ask questions about the chapters that you've read. A really incredible opportunity, I think. And so thank you all for being in that community group as well. I'll have the link down below for you for the group as well, so you can check that out. And lastly, today, everybody, remember, you were born so you are worthy. Your message matters. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly what someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It is time to be brave. See you next time, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.